What is going on, everybody? Cabana Greg here, and in today's video we are taking a look at the platinum trophies that I've earned in 2023 part 2. So part 1 is already up. I did part 1 earlier this year where I went through all the platinum trophies that I've earned in the year 2023, and that was meant to cover January to June. And now I'm really focusing on the trophies that I've earned in the back half of this year, in the year 2023. I am making this video a little bit earlier, it's early November right now, but I just know for a fact that I won't have time to really platinum some of the games I've been hoping to platinum by the end of this year, and so I just thought, why not make the video now to at least show the, I think, 14 or so trophies that I've earned from May/June until now. Now, if you are new to the channel here, maybe consider subscribing if you do want to see more content like this. And of course, if you are a returning viewer or returning subscriber, I super appreciate you all supporting the channel and continuing to tune in for stuff like this. But all right, everybody, without further ado, let's take a look at the 14 platinum trophies that I earned in the back half of 2023. But starting off here is Overwatch 2. This one's a little interesting because I've already gotten the platinum for Overwatch, I think like a couple years ago at this point, or maybe a year ago. I honestly lost track of it. Overwatch 2, so I re-platinumed the game, and actually, it's a little interesting here because when Overwatch 2 first launched, the trophies for this game were absolutely broken. So, I had the platinum from Overwatch 1, and I thought that the Overwatch 2 platinum would automatically pop, and it didn't. Only about 5 or 10 trophies automatically popped, and the rest I had to get all over again. And, out of the 59 trophies here, I think I got about 80% of the trophies for Overwatch 2. But the nice thing is that yesterday, I actually logged on to play Overwatch 2 because I haven't played it in months. And as soon as I logged in, the remaining trophies that I hadn't unlocked auto-populated, and I got the platinum. This is kind of cheating, I guess, because, I technically, this is more like an auto pop, but I did earn about 80% of the overall trophies. I think I needed about 12 trophies, trophies in total in order to get the platinum the second time. But thankfully, they fixed the trophies, everything auto popped, and all is good in the world. This trophy list is pretty tricky and hard as well, so I'm glad I didn't have to actually go and re-earn every single trophy, but it was funny to me because I did some of the harder trophies that took me forever to earn in the first Overwatch weren't that hard to get in Overwatch 2. So I don't know what it is, but that's just sort of how it ended up being. But yeah, this is sort of kind of cheating, but nevertheless, this is something that I did earn this year. Was the Overwatch 2 Platinum Trophy. Next here, let's go down, and we've got Afterparty. This is a game from Night School Studios. This is the original, this is former Telltale developers. They made their own studio called Night School Studios. Their first game was Oxenfree. Afterparty was their second game, and then their third game now is Oxenfree 2, which I haven't played yet. I've heard some mixed things about it, but I'll still give it a shot at some point. But I decided to pick up Afterparty because it was very, very cheap, I think, during the Halloween sales. And Afterparty was really solid. There were some bugs with the game. There were some technical issues that I encountered. I think I had like one hard crash. But overall, it was a really fun game. The platinum wasn't too demanding. And I think I played the game about I had 3 separate playthroughs. And so I really enjoyed it. I would recommend Afterparty, though. It is a good time and a pretty good platinum trophy overall. All right, so scrolling down here, we've got the Quarry. Now, the Quarry has one of the most annoying platinum trophies I've ever encountered. I think I played this game about maybe 6 separate times all the way through. I think it's about maybe 8 to 10 hours, depending on, if you're keeping everybody alive or you're killing everybody. But this trophy list was kind of annoying, mainly because it really is. The trophy list is set up in a way where you have to be following a guide at all times. You have to be following a guide. I wasn't, because I just wanted to play the game and experience it blind. And ultimately, that's kind of what led to more playthroughs being required. And you can't skip any of the cutscenes. So I think overall, I spent about 50 hours or so just playing this game and ultimately, keeping it on in the background when I did my 4th and 5th playthroughs. The first 2 playthroughs were just blind playthroughs that I played with my partner, and we really enjoyed it. It was really fun. But I think that overall, this trophy list is surprisingly annoying, especially, again, if you're not following the guide and kind of keeping in mind that you need to set up certain playthroughs in order to reduce however many playthroughs you need to get the platinum. But obviously it's not that fun, I think, when you think about it from that perspective. But yeah, this was the Quarry. I enjoyed the game overall. I just think that the platinum trophy was a little bit more annoying, a little bit more tedious than I would have liked. But it's a great game. I still think it's quite a good game, and you should check it out. Next here is a game that I recently talked about on the channel. This is Enter the Gungeon. This is a recent platinum trophy of mine, and one that I never expected to earn. This definitely has one of the hardest trophy lists that I've encountered, mainly because it's half luck dependent and half skill dependent. It's not the easiest platinum in the world, but the core gameplay is really compelling. I think there's a lot to enjoy and appreciate with Enter the Gungeon. And again, if you're looking for a challenging game, this is it. I mean, this is quite a challenging game, and it's really fun. And I think I've played about maybe 80 hours or so. It took about 80 hours to get the platinum from my end, mainly because I was having to heavily rely upon just RNG to give me certain missions to complete. And that's sort of the main issue, I think, is that there's a lot of RNG in this trophy list, and that can kind of taint the overall experience, I think, if you're going for this platinum. But I think the core game itself is really enjoyable and a lot of fun, and there's so much to discover within this game as a whole. And so I'd highly recommend you check out Enter the Gungeon if you have an interest in bullet hell, roguelike, top-down sort of shooter games. It is quite, like I said, quite a good time, pretty fun, and the platinum trophy is worth your time. If you can put up with some of the more frustrating moments like this here, then you'll be good. You'll be in a good spot for this one. Next here, scrolling down, is Call of the Sea. This was a free game on PlayStation Plus, and it is a first-person puzzle game developed, I believe, in Unreal Engine 5, I want to say. And it's a good-looking game. I actually thought it looked pretty nice. I like the art style. The puzzles were pretty intuitive and easygoing. And overall, it's not a very long game. You can kind of beat this in one sitting. If you really are, decent at puzzle games, I think you can kind of get this done in one sitting. Overall, it is, it's not my favorite game ever. It is definitely a very easy platinum, but I didn't really walk away from the experience being like, wow, this was incredible. I just had a very solid time with it in the maybe 6 hours I spent playing it. But I think that accounts for something. I think that matters. It was a good time. And I'm glad that it was free because I had thought about buying it a while back, but I wasn't sure if I was going to like the game or not. And ultimately, I would say, after getting the platinum and playing the game, I definitely enjoyed it. So highly recommend Call of the Sea. If you have an interest in puzzle games, this will definitely scratch that itch. And it is also a very nice looking game, and it runs well. I didn't really have any issues playing the actual game, which was nice. So that's Call of the Sea. Going down a little bit further here, we've got Unpacking. Once again, another free PlayStation Plus title and another puzzle game. Now, I enjoyed this game. I liked the visual storytelling that was at play here and sort of piecing together what the narrative is based off of the puzzles that you're presented with and some of the more salient, elements that are present in the locations that you're going to be doing these puzzles in. And you kind of, form this narrative within your head as you're slowly unpacking things, literally, about the story and, within the boxes that you have to unpack themselves. So it's pretty cool. It's a good time. I think if you're looking for something chill, low key, something that you can complete in several hours, that's really just not too much of a time commitment, right? Unpacking is a very solid all-around experience, and I would recommend it to pretty much anybody. It's really good. Next here is Carto. This is another free game that I was playing on PlayStation Plus, and once again, another puzzle game. This was, I think, one of the hardest puzzle games for me. It was just because the way that the puzzles are structured really makes you have to think a little bit differently in sort of how you approach the puzzles. And for someone like me, they just weren't as, obvious. And so I spent quite a bit of time playing through this game, taking breaks, coming back to it. But ultimately, I finished the game. The platinum is not too crazy. You can go through and do chapter select once you actually beat the game for the first time. And it's a really cute and quirky puzzle game that, flips things on its head in terms of like how you approach puzzles and how you think about solving puzzles, or at least it did for me. But the main thing I loved was the art style. The art and the overall look of this game is incredible. I highly recommend Carto. I really enjoyed it. It's definitely one of the harder puzzle games that I played this year. And, I think it's worth your time for sure. Next here is Bioshock on the PlayStation 3. I've had Bioshock for years, but, it was one of those things where I found myself, I had my PlayStation 3, and, I didn't really have... There wasn't much else that I was like looking at playing at the time, and I kind of fixated on just replaying the first Bioshock because I love it so much. And, I spent the time to really, go for the Platinum Trophy. And I only had to clean up, I think I only had to get about 2 more trophies or 3 trophies in total to get the Platinum. So I sat myself down, I played the game on the hardest difficulty, I didn't use the Vita Chambers, and ultimately, I did get the Platinum, and I had a good time with it. It is pretty challenging, I found it pretty hard. But it's definitely doable. It is definitely one of the more achievable, difficult platinums that I've encountered. And obviously the first Bioshock is it's one of the best games of all time. It's still one of those experiences where even coming back into it, this year, so many years later, playing it on my PlayStation 3, I just think it's such an incredible experience. It's commendable in so many ways in terms of what it did for the industry, how it, sort of changed the narrative structure for games, your player agency within games, and it's really something special. And I would have thought all these years later, maybe I would have been, oh no, that game's fine, a little overrated, whatever. It's really not. It's really just solid through and through. And I think playing it today in 2023, I really had a great time with it. Overall, the Bioshock Platinum is pretty tough, but it is achievable. You just may need to follow some guides for the hard difficulty playthroughs and things like that, but again, it is super doable. And I'm really happy that I have this Platinum because, again, Bioshock is just a very important game for me personally. And so it's just nice to know that the Platinum is here in my collection now. Next here is Mirror's Edge, man. This is probably one of the hardest Platinums that I've gone for so far. It posed quite a bit of challenge. And again, I found myself I only had my PlayStation 3, and I sort of was looking through all the games that I had played years ago and wanted to replay, and Mirror's Edge was one of them. And more specifically, Mirror's Edge was one of those games where I became super fixated on wanting to get the Platinum. I was 80% or 60% done with the trophy list. I liked the game enough to the point where I was you know what? I would want to get the Platinum Trophy for it. Let's try it out. And man, it was really hard. Again, easily one of the hardest Platinum Trophies that I've ever chose to go for, one of the hardest ones that I've ever gone for in general. But I really like this game. It is very unique. It's very different. And again, it's just one of those things where, like Bioshock, I enjoy kind of looking through all of my Platinums and sort of seeing this Platinum Trophy alongside some of these other, games that I hold in high regard. And even though Mirror's Edge isn't a perfect game, it's honestly, there's a lot that could be improved, and I wish that was a little bit better. But even with all that said and done, this game is really something special, and it is really hard, man. It is. If you're going for it and you do end up getting the Platinum Trophy, kudos to you. It is not an easy feat. And again, just really happy that I finally have it in my collection along with everything else. All right, next down here is Dead Space on the PS3. And again, same narrative here. I found myself with my PS3, wanted to replay some stuff. And Dead Space, all I really needed to get the Platinum Trophy, I needed to beat the game only with the plasma cutter. I needed to upgrade all of my items. And I needed to beat the game on the hardest difficulty, which I forget what it's called. Actually, it's probably hardest difficulty setting. There it is, Epic Tier 3 Engineer. So I only needed a handful of Platinums to get I only needed a handful of trophies, I should say, to get the Platinum Trophy. And ultimately, I played the game about twice. I played one playthrough to upgrade all my weapons, and then I did my second playthrough only using the plasma cutter on the hardest difficulty. And personally, I think that was the way to do it, honestly. You dump all your resources into one gun, you just kind of buy a bunch of ammo for one gun, and it's easier to sort of approach some of the harder chapters in the original Dead Space. And honestly, I kind of want to play the remake now that I've played, the original. It just kind of got me in that mood to, want to play the remake. But overall, I think the Dead Space Platinum Trophy was pretty challenging. It was pretty brutal, pretty difficult. But I do think for me personally, I think if you do the beat the game only using the plasma cutter, if you do that one gun run with the hardest difficulty trophy, it makes things a little bit easier because your resource management becomes pretty consolidated into just, maintaining one weapon. and you can sort of dump all of your money and resources into just maintaining one gun instead of like 3 or 4, right? But yeah, that's about it for Dead Space. This is also one of those things like with Bioshock. I'm so surprised that it still holds up as well as it does even to today. And yeah, I mean, it is one of those things again where like, wow, this was such a good experience so many years later. And you wouldn't think it, but yeah, it's really solid, really compelling, and really scary still. So that's Dead Space. Next here is Twisted Metal 2. I used to play a ton of Twisted Metal 2 back on the original PlayStation 1. One of the things that I realized immediately when I started playing this game again was that it was hard. It's actually a pretty hard game, and I forgot how much difficulty there was even with like the first level. So I was getting my butt kicked pretty consistently. But overall, like this is just Twisted Metal 2, it's fun, chaotic, it's hard. I definitely used some cheats so that I could just experience all of the endings to the game. I watched a lot of, I believe Bad Driver is the name of the YouTube channel. He's got a great video that kind of goes through how to get this platinum trophy pretty easily. But, I really enjoyed revisiting Twisted Metal 2. It was sort of like a hit of nostalgia when I first started playing it. And I really like Twisted Metal 2. I'm very happy to have this platinum within my collection as well. Scrolling down here, we've got Dodgeball Academia. This was I believe a Humble Bundle game, and it is, as you would know, it's a dodgeball game, a RPG sort of game as well. I kind of like this one though. I like the characters. I like how it pretty much is like a very over the top anime. In sort of like the dialogue and the character expressions, the music, like it sort of hits that mark very well. And surprisingly, this game was a little bit harder than I thought it was going to be. There were some pretty challenging moments near the end of the game where I actually needed to like take a break because I found myself getting kind of frustrated with how hard certain sections were. But it was very fun and surprisingly charming and enjoyable. I do personally think that it went on a little too long for my liking. Maybe like shorten it by 1 chapter potentially. But I think aside from that, it's a really solid experience through and through. I enjoyed the gameplay for the most part. And like I said, I enjoyed the characters, the dialogue I thought was pretty fun. And in particular, I really, really liked the art style. That's kind of what drew me in to play this game in the first place. So yeah, that is Dodgeball Academia. Pretty solid game and a solid platinum trophy. Next here is I think a little bit more of a divisive game. It's 12 minutes. This is starring Daisy Ridley, James McAvoy, and Willem Dafoe. And this was published by Annapurna Interactive, who they just publish a lot of great stuff. And I actually liked 12 minutes quite a bit. I enjoyed the core mystery, some of the scenarios that you had to play through. The twist I thought was pretty good. And the performances overall, I thought Daisy really didn't really give her much to do, and so her performance and her dialogue was a little stiff. Willem Dafoe, of course, is the standout. He is, as always, the highlight here. But yeah, Willem Dafoe is easily the best part of this game, to be honest. In addition to, again, some really cool narrative decisions that they went with. The twist, again, is pretty interesting and definitely a little messed up. But yeah, I really enjoyed 12 minutes. It's a very solid puzzle game, kind of going back to the days of like Monkey Island, if you're familiar with those games. But it poses quite a bit of challenge in terms of like how do you get through certain scenarios, and then once you figure out the solutions, it's very rewarding to kind of see how things play out. So yeah, 12 minutes, I highly recommend it. Alrighty, I think last but not least here is Toem. This was achieved June 18th. So yeah, this is definitely, I think, the start of the second half of like what I earned in 2023. So yeah, Toem was the first game that I decided to try out and get the platinum for. And I gotta say, I really, really love this game. It is charming. I love the art style. The music is incredible. I really want to get like a vinyl or some sort of press for this soundtrack because it is excellent. But Toem just kind of won me over on so many different fronts. Again, from its overall visual look and feel, the dialogue, and just the music. There's so much to this game that I can't recommend Toem enough. I really cannot stress how good of an experience I had with this game. And it's very chill. It's very easygoing. And again, the platinum trophy is it's a good time. I think everything here is, within the main story, and it's just like sort of, if you enjoy the gameplay, you enjoy the worlds, you enjoy like what you're doing within the core, the moment-to-moment core gameplay, this trophy list is sort of one of the most, like, it's just a perfect trophy list, I think, because again, you're really just kind of experiencing things and just going for that natural 100% completion. And again, for someone like myself who just enjoyed the core experience quite a bit, it was just a great time through and through. I did play the DLC. I want to get around to playing it again because it was just more of the same, and just it was really great. But maybe I'll find some time next year to actually go and finish up the DLC for Toem. But I think the main thing I just wanted to say was check it out. Check out Toem. I did a post-platinum review of this game as well back in June, so maybe go ahead and check that out if you want to learn more about the trophy list, if you want to learn more about the game as well. I do have a video on this, so feel free to take a look at that. Alrighty, everybody, so that is going to do it for today's video. We just took a look at the 14 or so trophies that I earned in the back half of 2023. Very proud of a lot of these trophies, and I'm really happy that I decided to go back and play some games to sort of complete the overall trophy lists in those respective games. If you enjoyed this, stick around. There's going to be more Platinum Trophy collection videos, more Platinum Trophy review videos, and just in general, a lot of videos coming down the pipeline. And once again, I just want to say thank you so much for sticking around till the very end of this video, and I hope to see you all on the next video.